ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावतीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
Hari Om. Making an altar. If you haven't one, or if you want to rejig it a little bit and brighten it up, it's a beautiful thing to do. And it's nice to have a table or a space that isn't occupied by anything else. So if you have nowhere in your home that you can put it beside the bed's fine, but don't occupy, don't put other books and bits and pieces there like you normally would. Keep that altar space that you choose completely clear, clutter-free and clean. To have a nice ornate sort of a table or something is beautiful. Keep it in a corner that's either out of the way, in the area where the sun comes up behind it, or somewhere that isn't, it's not a thoroughfare. No one's going to walk over it or see it. It's a really private place, not because it's secret, but because that's where you connect to yourself, and maintaining that pure and spiritual energy helps. It helps you and your devotion and your meditation and your prayer, and the energy builds over time. If it's in a busy place where people are walking past or other family members, or it's in a hallway, it's a nice central energy point, but it's not developing that real strong energy where you just want to go and sit and immediately drop into meditation or into that feeling of being one with the divinity. So the altar really is a representation of your heart on display, of your inner being in the world, in form. So when you see it, it reminds you to come back to your inner self. And mostly in life, we don't have that many reminders, particularly in our work day and driving and being out and about with other people. There is less that reminds us of our hearts than to take us away from it. So an altar in a place for you is a really, really important thing to create and to invest in getting a few pieces to make it beautiful. In front of it, if the only place you have is a bedside, that's fine. Put a nice cloth over it, a nice lamp, and keep it really clean. If you do have another place where you can put it and you can place a nice rug or mat in front of it that you sit down on, or you do your prayers or meditation, that's also really beautiful to have. And that's just you and your partner's place. No one else should walk on that rug or step on it. If it can't be in a really, really private place, then you fold up that meditation rug or prayer rug and put it to one side through the day or when you're not using it. So on the altar, when you start or add to it, it's really nice to think of what's a divine image for you? What represents divinity? And for all people, that will be something different. We have a saying that your Ishta Devata should be there, so your personal kind of deity or personal goal, or that can be a revered person or example of somebody in life that has lived, that really has embodied the highest divinity you feel and believe they can. So they're an inspiration to you of what you're attaining, picture of them. Or I like to have a beautiful crystal Sri Yantra, a large one on my altar in the Shivoham, which represents the creative universe and everything that comes from our Divine Mother, and that we unite again in supreme consciousness. That's the goal, and all of this kind of worldliness dissolves. That's a Shivoham. So these two in crystal form are magnificent. They're just beautiful. They're really nice to have on your altar, and particularly with the Shivoham, there's a ritual that you can do. You don't have to have a big one. It can just be a little one on a nice tray. You have a light there, a candle light, or a deepak with oil or with ghee. Depends on how you set things up. I know in Europe there's beautiful oil lamps. They put the oil and the candle wick that just sits in there and keeps burning for a week. We don't have those available in Australia, but you can make like the Indian style with the cotton wick, and that keeps burning. It's a very nice, gentle flame, but it also takes a bit of maintenance. Candles are, of course, easy to put on and off, but they're not as pure. So it depends. But something you can light that reflects awakening, and it's a beautiful light. When you meditate and you close your eyes, it's not a bright light, and you open, and it's always beautiful to see a light, a candle, and it's a nice ritual to do every morning or evening when it's dark, is to light that candle on the altar if it's not on all the time. And keep a, a spot where you can put some flowers from your garden or a few leaves or some fruit, a little offering when you do your prayer or something, and then you can take that fruit a day later as prasad if you've done prayer or left it there during your meditation, and take it like this is an offering to yourself that's full of blessing and divinity. These are just little ways that you also keep the altar alive by putting a few flowers there or a few pieces of fruit. It's a living energy. It's not a stagnant kind of side table that you put a few displays on and it's just there. Your altar is a part of your living experience. And so by putting flowers and fruits and things, it's keeping it active and keeping it alive and keeping you attending to it. So whatever is appealing and inspiring to you to bring you back to it every day a few times and to keep your interest in it and to keep it looking beautiful. Some people like to put a whole lot of candles, um, and a picture of a guru. Other people like the crystals I mentioned and just a beautiful candle light. That's what I have, and some beautiful symbols that represent the highest truth to me. You keep your altar clean. It's not necessary to have too many things. I've seen people with all sorts of pictures of great saints and divine beings, and while it's nice, it's also a lot to take in, and it's not a peaceful environment always. It can be inspiring, and it makes you feel like, wow, there's so much to attain. I better meditate. But I prefer that feeling of peace when you sit down and you really want to be one with that. That's the idea of an altar. It's a symbol of what you want to be one with, and so for me it's easier to be one with peace and beauty than a whole lot of beings and people that lived in different countries at different times. It's what can you, for me, I always share, what can you align to, what can you become one with. That should be on your altar. There's no right or wrong. But the Sri Yantra is a very beautiful symbol because it represents this manifested creation. And when you meditate on it and all the triangles, it can awaken a lot of clarity within you. And that also should be, because what you see in front of you before you close your eyes is also the impression on your inner eye or inner vision or subconscious. So particularly having less distractions in the morning when you go to sit is a beautiful thing. And a daily ritual around your altar when you've set it up can be always to wake up in the morning and recognize as you put your feet on the ground that there's the earth beneath you that's supporting you, and thank the earth. And as you stand up, you can fold your palms and take a deep breath and thank this ether, this prana, this gift of life that we have that sustains us. And as you go to your altar, first thing, and light the candle or the incense stick and greet that first light, or the first light might be a lamp that you turn on, or some the sunrise if you're up a little later, or depending on which part of the world you're in, that you greet that first light and light the candle on the altar. And when you go to the kitchen and get your water or coffee, or you get in the shower, do you greet the water, that element of cleansing and of purifying, life-giving. And really with these things that we're given free, that we all have access to, fortunately, free, more or less, this is sustaining our life. And so it's thanking, with that feeling you wake up, thank all these elements, come back and sit down for meditation after you've got your water or tea or coffee, you've washed, or at least washed your face, and sit down for your meditation at your altar. So it gives you a center and it gives you a place to go every day, and a a place to be present with your inner self and to start the day in the right way.